Is there anybody in here, sometimes you don't feel like praying, you don't feel like singing? I don't all the time feel like preaching. I just fold my arms and grow. In fact, sometimes it gets so difficult I can't say nothing. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. I don't know when to say it. All I can do is just fold my arms and grow. You can act sanctimonious if you want to. You may not do it in the open. You may not do it in the public. But I know it done got dark in your life. And when no one was there, when the garage was down, when the shades were pulled, y'all ain't saying nothing to me, when there was no one but you. It didn't matter how you said it. It didn't matter if it made sense or not. It didn't matter if verb was right, if the noun was right. It didn't matter how it came out. God knows. And there's something in some of us this morning that you really need to get out. But you're afraid to say it because you think you may not say it correctly. But if you're talking to God, you ought to go ahead and say it. How many of you know he'll understand? I said he'll understand. He'll understand. He says, I'm going. Then the Lord said, you watch him now. I told you he knows. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. Y'all see it, don't you? Who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. And I know their sufferings. God knows their pain, their suffering, and he knows their loss, and he knows their cares. And in my conclusion, St. Bartley, I need to encompass us. And I know all of our cares are different. Our pains, our sorrow, our losses. But God knows. He said, I see the affliction. I see the groaning. I see that it looks like you're losing the battle. It looks like you're just going through the motions. It looks like, what's the use coming to church and coming to Bible class and coming to Sunday school and paying tithes and offering? What's the use? Really see? Does he really know? Does he really hear? I'm glad you asked. Yes, he does. You see him, don't you? He said, I see the affliction. I know they're suffering. But in this context, the expression God knew means much more. Think. What else does God know that is relevant to the Israelite situation? What else does God know that is relevant to your own situation? Let me bring out 4 items in addition to their suffering that God knows about. God knows, number 1, their present weakness. He knows that they can do nothing to help themselves. He knows that unless he acts, they are lost. As the Psalms have said, for we know our frames, for he know our frames, and he remembers that we are dust. And the only thing God has to do is just, and it's all over. God knows that. He knows our weaknesses. And I understand, I know you're strong. You hide behind your position. but you're weak. You hide behind the choir. You get there and you hide, but you're weak. We get in the pulpit and we preach behind this sacred desk, but we're weak. You got on the right colors, the right attire, but you weak. I know where you work at, but you weak. You really live in a fine home, but you weak. And without God, you can do nothing. So he knows their weaknesses. Secondly, God knows their future failures in sins. Watch me now. I said he knows their future failures in sins. I know you've been blood bought. I know you've been sealed in the book. I know if you ever been saved, you can never be lost. I know that I'm preserved until the day of redemption. But God sees my future failures. He sees not only my failures, but he sees my future sins. I knew I wasn't going to get no amen right there. Because many of us act as though we have no sins and that we will not sin. But there's a word in the text, it said, not if you sin, but when you sin, there's an advocate. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. He knows their future failures, their sin. Remember how rebellious this very Israelites became. God will begin to put his hand into effect. And now watch them. He said, and they will attack his servants for making matters worse. God rescued them with a series of great miracles. Right. You remember, don't you? Miracle after miracle, miracle after miracle. God rescued his people and brought them out. But God knew that they were too unfamiliar with where they were going. All right. You know why we don't want to grow? You know why we don't want to move? You know why we don't want to know what's on tomorrow? Because we are too unfamiliar. Going to a land flowing with milk and honey? Still didn't believe that. God have given you the land and you still wandering around. Didn't believe it so much so, Brother Deacon, they had to send spies to check out the land. Some of you may not believe I live at 115 light speed because you hadn't been there. They sent spies to see if the land, Pastor, was there. And even though they sent them, only 2 came back with a good report. How can you send people to do a job for the Lord to investigate and everybody see the same thing, but only 2 come back with a good report? I'm glad you asked. I know why somebody don't want to move.